Welcome everybody. Today at GFE Adventures we're going to prepare some salmon to smoke. Now this is the night before, and what we need to do the night before is take 2 cups of brown sugar, a half a cup of kosher salt, a teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning, and a teaspoon of garlic powder, and mix all this together. This is going to be our dry brine. I have some chunks of salmon cut up here already, which will be the first layer, and then we're going to mix our brine up and cover this with the dry brine, and then I'm going to lay a couple of fillets on top. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and mix our ingredients into the bowl here. Now this is almost 2 cups right here in this jar of the brown sugar right now. That's 1. And a half. It doesn't have to be quite exact, but you want to be as close as possible. And the reason why we do this the night before is because you want it to sit overnight to draw out a lot of the moisture of the fish. Now I have washed these fillets and patted them dry with with paper towels. So there's the brown sugar. There's a half a cup of kosher salt. The garlic powder. The Old Bay. Now you can add black pepper, red pepper, or some of the other spices that you'd like yourself. This is just a recipe that I found that I've liked. So I've got that in. I'm going to pause the camera and then we'll come back after I get it mixed up and go to stick it in the bowl. Okay, so as you can see, I've got it mixed up pretty good. Here I'm going to stir it up just a little bit more. And then basically we're just going to take this and we're going to cover our fish with it. Sometimes I think the best way to do stuff is the old way, and it's just to pack it on with your hands. I actually think we're going to need to mix up another batch of this for the next set of fillets. I think we will. So that's layer one. Move the camera a little bit here. Isn't that a nice fillet right there? I think I'm going to cut this in half, crosswise, to make it a little bit smaller, easier piece to handle when drying. But you need to make sure that you rinse your salmon off and then pat it dry. This is salmon that I caught up in upstate New York this past October. We had some really good fishing up there. I'll take a couple of pictures and insert those in, give you an idea. But all I'm going to do is pat that dry. I got a couple of little tail pieces here left from the other one. And I think I'm basically just going to cut it like so and create two fillets. I have one more piece here that I'm going to put in whole. Rinse this off. Paper towel, pat them dry. So we're going to come back over here, put this down, and as I said, we just layer these in. Like so. Squeeze those in. So we have our layer like this. Go back in with the Old Bay.
Some more garlic powder. Bring some here. Half a cup of kosher salt. Seed a little bit. Brown sugar. And you gotta make sure you break these clumps up so you get it mixed well.
Since we got some time while I'm mixing, what you might notice a few things. One, it's been a while since I have done some videos because my other camera broke. And it took me a little time to get a new one. And I also have a new pet. I got a Colonial Spaniel over the summer. She's now 6 months old, and you'll see her in some upcoming videos. We've been working and training and housebreaking and doing the whole 9 yards that you have to do whenever you get a new puppy. She's doing awesome. And like I said, you'll be getting an introduction to her in another video. So, as you can see, pretty much all mixed up. And we're just gonna layer that on. We will take this mixture and these fillets, and we'll put them in the refrigerator, and we'll let them sit in the refrigerator overnight. Minimum of 12 hours. If you're going to leave them in longer than like overnight, you might actually have to mix up another batch and reset them, because this is going to all turn to a liquid glue kind of consistency you'll see tomorrow when we pull it out and go to the next step. So for this big tub, you can see I used a total of 4 cups brown sugar, 1 cup of salt, 2 tablespoons of Old Bay, and 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. So this is just a marinating tray that I'm basically putting these in. And I'm going to close this up and put it in the fridge. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Welcome back, everybody. It's the next morning, and the salmon's been overnight. And as you can see, this is all turned to liquid. See if I can zoom in a little bit. Like I said, it's out. Look on here. See if you can see that. So all that dry brine pretty much just turned to liquid. We got a little bit still here. Okay. So our next step is to take these fillets. We're going to rinse them off in cold water, and then we got to pat them dry. Take a couple paper towels out right now. Lay them out. The texture of the fish has changed a lot. It's a lot firmer now. I'm going to pause the camera while I do the rest of this, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I got all my other pieces rinsed off here. And I'm just putting them on this pan and I'm going to pat them dry. The next step we're going to want to do is to lay them out. I'm going to lay them on this pan here for an hour to 2.5 hours to reach room temperature. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a small skin that forms over the flesh during that time, which is what's going to enable it to absorb the smoke when we put it on the smoker. You see how that fille's come out? It's pretty firm now. What I like to use is apple chips, applewood chips when I smoke, but that's just my preference. You can use whatever type you like. If you like mesquite or hickory, you can use those. Walnut and pecan are real nice too. Those chips are hard to come by, but if you happen to know somebody cut down a walnut tree or a pecan tree, then that'll work. I've used walnut before, and it gives it a really unique flavor that you don't come across a lot. Whoa. So pretty much now, we just let this pan sit, like I said, for about an hour to 2 hours, and then we'll proceed to the grilling part now, or actually the smoking part. In about an hour is probably when I'll fire up the smoker and start getting the coals hot and ready for that. So we'll be getting back with you. Okay, as you can see, I've got my coals going in the smoker there. And that's Moneta, my Colonial Spaniel, checking out the wood chips that I've got sitting in the water right now soaking. What we want to do, let's see if I can zoom in on this. If we can zoom in, get the focus. See the gauge where it's at warm. We want to get it up into the ideal and have it hold in that temperature range before we put the fish on. So you can see it's growing. Once it's up into the ideal, that's when we'll put the fish on. So let's go inside right now and we'll put the fish on the rack. that I'm going to use. Okay, this is the basket that I'm going to put my fish in. And I'm just going to spray it down really good with olive oil. Use this old pizza box from last night to kind of catch the overspray. You want to make sure you spray this down really good with Pam or whatever kind of oil that you want to use on there. This will help keep the fish from sticking. Like I said, this is just olive oil in an atomizer that I got through Pampered Chef. You can put it straight on the rack, but I found the baskets just make it so much easier to use. Alright, so we got that covered now. We'll stop, and I'll go ahead and get the fish, and we'll get that set up. Okay, here's the rack. And now I'll put the pieces on. And I'm getting text messages. Of course, some of these thin pieces might cure a little bit quicker, so when we're in the process of checking, we'll keep an eye on them. So that's pretty much it. It's been just over an hour. Like I said, the fire's going, so in about another 20-30 minutes, we'll be ready to go. And then we'll start the camera back up when we place them on. Okay, so we got our basket here. Our temp is good to go. Around a little bit. And now, just add the apple chips in. Create the smoke. So I'll check with you back down in a bit. We can pull the lid off and check it out. We'll just keep it smoking at this and keep it in the ideal level and adding chips. And we'll check back at about an hour and a half. Okay, time for the unveiling. There is the finished smoked salmon. Right there. It's hot. Give you a real good look at that stuff.